to thank you all who join in to this message. I wanted to create a message about join the fight for the light so that we can reclaim our power. I wanted to create a message so that we can stop being distracted by the fear and anger that keeps us out of our power, which is what keeps us out of this present moment where everything that we need already exists, if only we are willing to get ourselves comfortable and settle in to this moment, the one that comes right now where we are, that every other moment cannot prepare us for, because each of those did prepare us for this one, but the next now moment will be the ones that this moment prepared us for too. So understand that everything is calling us to choose between the light and the darkness, which is simply shadow of ignorance within us that we didn't know wasn't light. It was just a dark corner that we were afraid of before. And then when we shine light on that dark corner, it no longer is dark. And somehow the shadow disappears because fear and love cannot coexist. And it is time for us to stop giving our power away to the level that we have, to the ones that are fighting very hard for the dark, for the remaining of those shadows where they can scare us and render us helpless, because that's exactly what is required for us to not be presently powerful. It is required for us to actually come back into the remembrance of who we were before we took on the stories of who we thought we needed to be in order to be enough. When we get underneath of those veils and we actually come back to who we truly were before it all, then we join the light side again. But understanding too that we all struggle and that all of us choose the dark side at times. Hello to everyone who's tuning in. Thank you for joining in today, John, and all of others, all of those who choose later on to come back and listen to this message because of the flow and what it means to you, and to pay attention to resonance. Resonance is how we feel truth. We're either on the same level of that thing or idea, or we're not. And we know it because of how it feels within us. Our feelings are our teachers. There is a high rise of emotional awareness that is based off of Abraham Esther Hicks's emotional guidance system, which is 22 different levels of emotion. And then I actually put it into this high-rise theory, which is taking each of those 22 different levels of emotion and actually positioning them within the high-rise that is you. Your own energy field is made up of all of these fields, these feelings that you get a chance to actually handle, how to maneuver, how to appreciate, how to accept, how to stop resenting, and understanding that in the penthouse of peace, where freedom, empowerment, and knowledge exist, that is above enthusiasm, happiness, eagerness, positive expectation or optimism, hope, and contentment, which is actually flips us then into a downward spectrum or spiral of emotion, where each of those emotional states, starting with boredom, pessimism, frustration, overwhelm, disappointment, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, rage, all the way down to depression, where we feel absolutely hopeless because everything's on top of us and we forgot to breathe, likely. We forgot how powerful we are in this moment where every breath happens. We have to get back to that, my friends. We have to call ourselves back and to say we don't need to go from zero to hero. We don't need to try to go from being depressed into being joyful. It's not reasonable. And to create unrealistic expectations for ourselves is to keep ourselves playing in the darkness and the shadows of ignorance, because we are so afraid that we might make a mistake that we opt out of the experience altogether. Have you been there? Have you been in the experience where you are understanding you're fighting for your limitations? That's fighting for the darkness. Vehicle, passing, always, ALL ways, all ways, we will notice, if we have eyes to see, what is actually happening. We will see the passing vehicles, the cars, and know that that means that there is a new thought that has just come onto the playing ground. And what I say to you is that tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be gathering with a fellow lightworker, a warrior who is standing in her power and also learning and growing as we all are. And together, we're going to come together to talk about energy vampires and narcissists. She wrote an article about energy vampires and how to take your power back, how to feel peace amidst them, amongst them, or even when we are one of them. And then I will be sharing 5 types of narcissists or 5 types of narcissism that I learned from a doctor on YouTube that I'll be sharing, Dr. Ramani. I don't remember how to pronounce her last name, but it's very insightful because it breaks down energy vampirism and the ones who need to suck from others because they have forgot their connection direct to source, which is we are connected to the light. We are warriors of the light. We have a chance now to unite in the fight for what is right instead of against what we do not want. Because if we are on offense, we cannot win the game. And what we need to know is that the dark side have a lot of plans. And not only that, they are implementing those plans. And we, the ones who are gray in the middle, trying to stay neutral, or are white light ones who resonate more with the truth than what is convenient, we have to understand that we light ones oftentimes think because we have a pure heart that want good for this world, that there is not the potentiality of the level of pain and horror and terror that there truly is in this world, because we do live in a universe of polarity. And so with all of what is coming up to the surface now, we have to understand that all of that is other than what we want, and it teaches us that we have to fight for the light even more because they're fighting for the darkness in that same way. And there the door opens. My cat let himself in because it was time to change too, just like the passing vehicle. We have to know that just because these terrible things are happening, we can't feel powerless about them. My area, where I live, here in Norfolk County, a farming community where everybody thinks that nothing happens. Big things are happening. They talk about Norfolk on the news now because we're the hub. This is a hub. There is power where there is property, but not just property that has houses, property that has potential of harvesting food, of harvesting what could be. We are living in a world where we are farmers. We have forgot. But it does not change the fact that we are here creating a new humanity with an extra E, as I often say. That extra E represents the energy that we are willing to direct and devote to some things over other things, and to know that when other things catch our attention because they're so gruesome or grisly, that they impress us in ways that we would not wish to be impressed again. But when that happens, and we have the desire to fight against it, then we have to understand it's simply teaching us what we need to fight for instead. If the injustice is what we don't like, then how do we fight for justice? Change it. How do we get involved? How do we make it different? This area is not only popular because of the land, it's popular because of its position in between Michigan and New York, Toronto, London. It's right on the way. And there's lots of space here. There's so much. And we've all had pieces of it. over the years. We've all heard pieces of it, and we didn't think it was real. We didn't want to acknowledge that it could have been. And that's what makes us scared more than anything, because now it's right in our face. It's getting more in our face. Monsters Inc. is real. The movie, the kids' movie where the monsters show up in the kids' rooms and terrorize them, and then they take out that fearful experience from them. Well, that actually is happening. And when people talk about it too publicly and too many people start paying attention, that person gets taken out. And when you're a truth teller, you risk your life, because most people don't want the truth. A lot of people are happy being in a convenient lie, living it. And then when it comes time where it's too late, then they say, oh, should have chose otherwise. And then it's the end, and then their soul has to come back. But what I say to you and to me too is that I believe in reincarnation. I believe that our soul is timeless, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only displaced. Therefore, just like water that goes into a kettle and gets heated up, turns some of it into steam that is like the essence of us that is here now and can be easily extinguished if ones that fight against the light don't want the light to be seen. And so that is why the light need to unite now more than ever in the fight for what is good, in the fight for what is right. It is time for us to unite. It is time for us to choose the door that we walk through and to do it together, knowing that we're already in that liminal phase of change between the world where we were and the world where we're going. And yet we're in that in-between land. We're currently leading up to the election in November 2020. It's going to be a really big time period for all of us. It's the election for the Americans, but the Americans have been a big power for the whole world. See how all the noise come in? We don't need to talk about all of this now. What we do need to say is that tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be joining together with Laura Marcos to talk about energy vampires and narcissists. And it's not going to be going into the dark and the dirty and the nitty gritty, because a lot of people aren't ready for that. And the worst thing that we can do is to try to push people to a point where they're not ready. Because the unfortunate thing, and I'm sorry to say, is that once you know something, you can't unknow it. And so as you are learning new theories, possibilities, much of which will be called conspiracy theories, because the alphabet agencies that needed us to not question the governments and the systems that run all of us and the world that has been created and we've been living in, they need us to continue buying into their narrative. And we need to understand that when we understand the narrative is otherwise than what we've been told, our entire worlds come crumbling down around us, because our entire self-image is oftentimes based on who we think that we are. So I hope that you will choose responsibly who you choose to be. And I send you big love for the day ahead, and hope that you will be able to join Laura and I tonight when we talk about the article she wrote about energy vampires. And then I'll share about the 5 different types of narcissists from Dr. Ramani's work, and really relate that into how people take from others when they don't feel directly connected themselves. And that is how we make that shift of fighting against something into fighting for something. If we know where we give it away and how we give it away, then we can get back. If we don't know, we can't go. So have a great day, and we'll see you in a few hours, hopefully. Please share the message with someone else that needs to be reminded of the importance of what they're doing, right? Because far too many light workers feel like what they know, everybody knows, because once you know something, you can't unknow it, as we already said. So as you go through your day, remember that people do need to hear what you have to say. They might not need to hear the words, but your energy field, they need to see you standing strong so that they are able to catch the contagion of confidence that comes from knowing that you're fighting for something you believe in. And when we can do that, when we can get together behind a common purpose, we can impact what's beyond what we could even imagine, because we're going to transform the one on the inside, and that changes everything on the outside. We share this one. We have this one on our own. And then together, we can create miracles, if only we're able to love ourselves enough to get us good, so that then we can share what's great. Have a good day. Thanks for coming to play.